Hey guys, tired of feeling stuck in your dating life and striking out in the dating game? You're not alone. Maybe you just need some good coaching. Welcome to Just Ask Her, the no BS podcast for real dating advice straight from a woman's point of view. Dating expert Gracie Pleshcourt and her co-host, certified life coach Tracy Pleshcourt, are here to give you the play-by-play on how to attract more women you're interested in. So, let's take back control of your dating life. This is Just Ask Her.
Welcome back to Just Ask Her, the podcast that helps you date with confidence, connect with real women, and finally feel in control of your love life. I'm your host, Gracie, here with my mom and co-host, Tracy. And in today's episode, we're answering 3 submissions from listeners navigating very different situations, including a cancer survivor trying to re-enter the dating world only to have his first attempt end in a shocking betrayal, a good guy who keeps getting labeled as safe, but never seen as someone women actually want to date. And finally, a man reconnecting with a woman from his past who's still legally married and may be stringing him along. And then we'll wrap up the episode with this week's polls. So whether you've been the safe guy that's gotten blindsided by a situationship or you felt like the timing just never aligns, this episode is for you.
All right. The first submission is titled First Time Going Out After Cancer and I Kissed a Married Woman. This was written in by Richard. I've been watching and listening to you guys for a while now. I just got out of a 13-year relationship and I'm currently winning the fight against cancer. I've been in remission since October of 2024 and my last treatment was at the beginning of February. All the tests have been good so far. I'm starting to look like myself again and feel my confidence coming back. I've been taking a lot of the advice you both give, trying to navigate life as a newly single man for the first time ever. On Mother's Day, I decided to go out, grab something to eat, and maybe have a few drinks. I sat at a bar next to a mother-daughter duo. And wanted to practice my conversation skills. So I sparked up a chat with them. We hit it off. Eventually, the mom left, and it was just me and the daughter. We kept talking, laughing, and having a good time. I offered her a ride in my new car to keep the night going. When I dropped her off at her car, she got close to me, and I went in for a kiss. After we kissed, her husband pulled up. Furious. I was completely blindsided. During our conversation, I had asked if she was single. I even looked at her hand to make sure there wasn't a ring. Nothing. She never said anything about being married. I immediately apologized, explained I had just met her and had no idea, and left right after. It was extremely discouraging and disappointing, especially since this was my first time trying to go out and meet someone again. It left me wondering, is this what dating is like now? Is it even worth the risk? I don't know what to do. It's made me feel like maybe I don't want to go out and try anymore. Any advice would help, and thank you for taking the time to listen.
Woo!
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you, Richard, for being very vulnerable and sharing your story and trusting us with something that is obviously still a little raw. This was just on Mother's Day, which was last Sunday. The fact that you're reaching out and rebuilding and re-entering life after a fight like cancer says everything about the man you are. And I would also say you did nothing wrong. You asked all the right questions. You looked for the signs. You approached the evening with curiosity and integrity. But what happened wasn't you messing up. It was about someone else not telling the truth. Mm-hmm. And while that definitely stings, I hope that you'll let us offer you a different perspective about what that evening could actually mean. You were looking for connection, which is such a good sign of healing. This wasn't just a bar conversation or just a kiss. It was a milestone in what has been the fight of your life. And you were showing up to life again. You took the risk. You opened yourself up for the possibility of a new connection, and something unusual happened. And I would not take this as the rule. This is definitely the exception.
Yeah. My head goes all over the place. Like, what is wrong with this lady? What was she doing? Also, where was her husband during all of this? When you were sitting with her and the mom having these conversations.
And the mom, hello. Like, if the conversation started to go down the path of those two being flirty, as a mom, I wouldn't get up and leave.
Yeah.
Insert throat punch right here.
Yeah. I'll never understand that. have heard this time and time again from different clients being put in these types of situations. And it's so unfortunate because you guys are doing a lot of work to put yourselves out there and build up the courage in the first place. And so for one, it's not your fault if they're in a relationship. They're in a relationship and that's okay. It's just time to move on. But the fact that they're not even giving you the chance to move on is so irritating.
It's so deceptive.
Clearly, she didn't want to tell you that she was married. Otherwise, that should have came up. Like, you don't go get in somebody's car and go for a joyride. There were plenty of times leading up to the point before you kissed her that she could have told you or had the opportunity to remove herself from the situation. The only thing that I can think that would keep her from doing that is if she felt unsafe. But if that were the case, again, she wouldn't have let her mom get up and leave her there by herself.
Get into the car.
Exactly. She wouldn't have said yes to the joyride. There are so many things that could have came before this where she had every opportunity to pull herself out of it if that were the case. But clearly this woman has some screws loose and she is the one in the wrong here, not you. And so
it's definitely not a reflection of modern dating. I would say it's a reflection of her character. And
100%.
Hopefully this is one in every 100 women that you're going to come across that acts like this. So
yeah.
I really want to just shine a light on the fact that you showed up, you were present, you were alive in the moment, you were doing everything right. It's just so unfortunate that this ended up being the circumstance.
Yes. The gift that can come from this is the fact that you did just have a worst case scenario happen and you were still okay.
Yeah.
You still made it through the situation. And I'm not saying that to diminish what happened. That is such a shitty thing for somebody to do to somebody. If you're looking at this from a place of how you can be proud of yourself and you can know that you can handle even the worst of situations when they don't go as planned or when something doesn't go as you want it to, you are still very capable of telling the honest truth. Listen, I didn't know that she was married. I didn't know that she was in a relationship. I just met her, and getting yourself out of the situation.
Yeah, I think that really says a lot. He didn't get angry.
Yeah.
He didn't freeze. He responded with honesty, accountability, and grace. And I think that shows so much strength. It's so impressive. That's how he handled this. And I think you're right. This is the worst case scenario. And to see how he actually navigated.
Yeah. It's like you can only go up from here, honestly. Moving forward into any new conversations, do your vetting and do it thoroughly. You can even make the funny comment the next time you want to take a girl for a joyride, as she's getting in the car, just being like, just to double check. You don't have a husband that's going to come after me for letting you in my car, do you? Right? Be playful and make sure you're crossing all your T's, dotting all your I's here so that we don't get put in another situation like this. But again, there are things like this that you just don't have any control over, and that's not your fault. And you are capable of handling that situation if it ever comes to it.
Right, right. And the next time you think about this experience, try reframing it. It wasn't a failure. It was more of a test, right? It didn't go as planned, but it wasn't a fail. You learned a lot from it. I would also reframe your part in it. You weren't tricked because you were naive. You were tricked because you're an honest person who expects other people to be honest.
Yeah.
And then I would also challenge you to think about the fact that you can trust yourself now under any circumstance. This was the worst case scenario. You handled it like a champ.
Yeah.
Leverage that, recognize that, and find confidence in that. No matter what kind of curveballs your dating life throws at you, you're going to be able to hit them.
Yeah. Yeah. My head keeps going. What did she say when you asked her if she was in a relationship? I'm wondering if she just brushed it off or changed the subject, because I guess that would be an indicator that something's fishy. If she just flat out said no, again, it's so telling of her character and her own situation that she has going on in her life. You can stand tall on the fact that
you were deceived.
Yeah. This was not a reflection of you, your worth, or what you deserve in your dating life. I think that this is just an unfortunate situation that happened that nobody deserves to be put through. And all I got to say is karma will come back to her. And
yeah. Here you stand surviving more than what most people can imagine. You've rebuilt your body, your life, and now slowly you are rebuilding your sense of hope. You deserve love that meets you where you're at right now, which is wiser and more grounded. So don't let one moment of disappointment convince you that the world doesn't have space for you or for you to date. The right woman, she is going to come along and she's going to be so grateful that you didn't give up on trying, because she'll be looking for somebody like you who's real and resilient and ready to start something long term. So we are in full respect and in awe of where you're at. And we strongly encourage you to keep up the good fight, both in your health and your dating life.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you for writing in.
Hey there. If you're loving the Just Ask Her podcast, please take a quick second to rate us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. It helps more awesome listeners like you find the show. And don't forget to spread the love by sharing this episode with all of your friends. All right, back to Just Ask Her.
All right, for our second submission, we titled it, How Do I Stop Being the Safe Guy and Start Being Seen Romantically? Hi, I have a few female friends who always seem to put me in the role of the guy that they can lean on emotionally. They constantly tell me how safe they feel around me and that I'm a very, quote unquote, safe guy. But in my most recent interaction with a girl I was interested in, I ended up in the same role again, unintentionally. I'm wondering if I should change the way I approach women so that I don't keep getting stuck in the "you're such a safe friend" zone. I'd really appreciate your advice, and thanks for all that you do. Your work is amazing, Jacob.
I think that this is probably more common than you think. There's a lot of men out there that are quietly wondering, why do women trust me but not choose me? And I don't think that you're imagining a pattern, and you're certainly not wrong to be frustrated by being called the safe guy. It sounds like a compliment on the surface. Women recognize your emotional intelligence and your ability to always be a safe place to land. But when it comes to this pattern, they exclude you from being seen romantically. I can see why that would be so frustrating. It's like a velvet wrapped rejection. So let's talk about what's really going on here and how you can shift the energy without sacrificing the best parts of who you are. You teach people how to treat you, and you're probably entering into a lot of these relationships in the same way, and therefore you're getting the same result.
Yeah, it sounds like you have a lot of female friendships, and this is a very fine line to toe, and it's something that I have worked with clients on in the past, because all you know is a type of relationship with these women that you're used to. You're used to these friendships, which is a very different type of relationship than a romantic relationship with a partner. And so if all you're used to are friendships with women, then it makes sense that when women that you're interested in come along, that you pick up some of the same patterns that you would with some of your girlfriends that you have in your life. It's so common. I see it a lot with guys that just generally have bigger groups of female friends. And I'm not saying don't have female friends, but I think it's important that you practice the difference in the two relationships. A female friend should be treated very differently than a female that you're interested in romantically. And if you start treating her the same way that you would treat one of your friends, then you're going to get a lot of the same results. And so the fact that you keep hearing you're a nice guy or you're the safe guy, it's because women have developed these relationships with you that are very friendly. You have become a person that she can tell things to, like she would to any of her girlfriends. That's where you need to have the divide. If it's somebody that you're interested in, you cannot be texting her every day like you would a friend. You cannot be calling her when she's having a bad day at work and having her vent to you about it. You cannot be doing nice things for her out of the blue, like coming to fix things for her at her home or treating her like any of her friends would treat her.
Yeah. Confidence and boundaries aren't going to cancel out safety. Confidence and boundaries are going to elevate it. And so romantic framing needs to happen quickly. When you start to recognize that this is somebody you see as a potential girlfriend, you need to frame it in that way immediately.
Yeah. There's actually been studies done on this. There was over 10,000 people who participated. And in the study, they were able to build a formula that predicts the odds that someone will perceive any given scenario as a date. And one of the strongest findings was that people are much less likely to consider any meeting with a friend to be a date, even under otherwise date-like circumstances. So, for example, if a straight man over 30 invites his female friend to dinner on a Friday or Saturday night in person, she is still only 40% likely to consider it a date. So what that means is that most women, unless it is so blatantly clear that you have romantic intentions, are going to assume that you have friendly intentions, that you are doing things to be friendly. Unless you blatantly making your romantic intentions clear, if you're not flat out asking her on a date or telling her that you're romantically interested, she is more likely to assume that it's just friendly.
Yeah. So saying something like, it'd be fun to hang out sometime, that's going to leave the door wide open for her to conclude that we're friends. But saying something like, I'd love to take you out this weekend, I think we'd have a great time together, is going to position you more clearly and confidently. And it definitely is going to lead her to the belief that you're a romantic prospect.
And I think it's important that you say it's a date. If it's a friend, if it's somebody that you have a friendship with, you have to be even more clear about the fact that you'd like this to be a date. The study also found that if it's a friend of a friend, the odds go up to 85%. If you are asking a friend of a friend out to dinner, you don't necessarily have to say out on a date, because she doesn't already have that friendship built with you, and she's more likely to assume that it's a date. Okay. And so if she is a friend of yours, you have to say that you'd like to take her out on a date. You have to say, I am really attracted to you. I would love to take you out for a drink. Or I think you're really amazing. I would love to take you on a date sometime.
And then once you're on the date, make sure that you are carrying through on the expectation that it's a date. So keep the conversation flirty, like compliment her on her appearance, maybe not just her intellect, and hold eye contact just a little bit longer than what you normally would. All the things that Gracie says on her Instagram about playful teasing and using confident language that makes your intentions known, not just to land the date, but actually while on the date, so it is so clear. Be confident about what your intentions are. Having confidence and boundaries is going to be the perfect combination to get you out of this friend zone or this safe zone that you're finding yourself in.
Yeah. When it comes to building chemistry on a date, that's a whole nother piece of it. And I classify it into 5 different components that really help you actually build if it's meant to happen. So it's things like the actual location of the date. If you're going to grab coffee, sometimes that can be viewed as a more friendly thing to do, right? And so if it is a friend, maybe it's better to ask her out for a drink or dinner or something that's a little bit more romantic in a more romantic setting. Another key piece to this is showing intended thoughtfulness, especially if she is a friend, saying, hey, I'll be over to pick you up at 7. I made reservations for us. That's super thoughtful. It's going the extra step that will inevitably have her looking at you in a more positive lens before you even start the date. Another piece of this is how you communicate. Like you were saying, make sure you're creating more of a flirty vibe when you're on the date. Make sure you're actually using more flirty language and banter so that you have a chance to build a more romantic connection. Another piece is initiating some sort of physical touch. Nothing inappropriate, especially if it's a first date, but like hugging when you greet at the start of the date and even at the end of the date, and getting in flirty but appropriate touches throughout the date is super important. And then finally, the fifth component that I always talk about with my clients is how you end the date. How you end the date is just as important as how you start the date. It can absolutely take you from her wondering if she should go on a second one to wanting to go on a second one. And so it's things like that are super important to keep in mind, especially when it comes to building chemistry on a first, second, third, some of those earlier dates, if you want to have a chance of actually building that type of relationship with her. And if you're listening to this and you're like, oh geez, I don't know how to do any of that, I created a free guide specifically to help you start to build more chemistry on dates so that you stop hearing, this was fun, you're a great guy, but I didn't feel a romantic connection. And you can actually start hearing, this was great, when are we doing it again? Right? So I have a free guide for you. Just go to www.datingwithgracie.com/guides, plural, guides. You can sign up and you will get those guides completely free. I think it'll be a good starting point for you so that you never have to worry about getting out on those first couple of dates and not building a romantic connection with somebody that you're a good fit with.
Yeah. We are not suggesting that you have to become someone else. You just need to show up differently with intention, with your romantic expectations, and the kind of energy that makes a woman wonder more about you, not just want to confide in you. The next time you feel like a woman is leaning on you emotionally, you have to ask yourself, is this mutual, or am I being assigned the role as the safe guy again? The right woman won't just feel safe with you. She's going to feel excited to choose you. So I think it's just some very subtle tweaks, Jacob, that you need to start practicing. And
I think it's just unlearning. If this is the type of relationship you're used to having with women, it makes perfect sense how that is starting to carry over into your dating life. And so it's unlearning some of that when it comes to romantic relationships that you want in your life. It's okay to have female friends, but it's not okay to treat your romantic interests like female friends, because that's how you get put in the friend zone.
Yep. All right. The third submission is called, Am I Wasting My Time on a Woman Who's Still Legally Married? Talking to a girl I've known for 12 years, we only recently reconnected. She has 2 kids and is still legally married. We found each other again on Facebook dating, and she said she wanted to go on a date. She's been separated from her husband for a year and is going through the divorce process. But now she's put the divorce on pause because her husband is enlisting in the Air Force, and she wants to take advantage of the insurance before finalizing things. He's apparently okay with it, but it's now put me on the back burner, so to speak. We've both said we like each other, and we did back when we first met 12 years ago. Things fizzled out back then because we were young and dumb. She's 15 years younger than me and turns 30 in a few days. Basically, am I wasting my time, or should I hang in there a little longer since we've reconnected and still have feelings for each other? One more wrinkle. I helped her get into a new place, which means my name is on the apartment lease. Her husband knows this, and they're not sleeping in the same bed. There are red flags everywhere, but I haven't seen her lie to me, and I've had a lot of experience spotting lies from exes and through my career. What do you think, Jeff?
What I'll first tell you is that never in my experience of working with hundreds and hundreds of single men have situations just like this worked out. And I am not trying to generalize your situation, because I know that there are a lot of dynamics at play here. From a 10,000 foot view, I understand how this could make sense and why she wants to stick around. They have a family to take care of and provide for. And so I don't think that there is any ill intent or malicious intent going on here. I think that she is totally valid in wanting to take care of her family and feels like that's the best way to do it right now, but it should not. I repeat, it should not be at your expense. And that's what it will be. And even taking the apartment situation out of this, there is so much here that is sending up big red flags left and right that you have to take into consideration and honestly step away from right now. It is not a good idea to keep exploring this until she has fully resolved the situation with her not even yet ex-husband.
Yeah. And we're not saying that you have to do this to not be wrong or to be right. We're saying this is going to give you the best odds of not getting hurt.
And also the best odds of this working out. Like if you actually want a shot at this relationship working out and being healthy, if you want it to be a healthy relationship and have an actual chance at lasting long term, it's not within your best interest to stick this out and go through all of the things that this will come with just for the sake of it.
Yeah. From our point of view, you are very emotionally invested, and she probably doesn't have the capacity to be nearly as emotionally invested as you are. She's still legally and logistically entangled with someone else. And it's not just inconvenience. It's like leaving something unresolved in a indefinite way. And that is not fair to you. She says the relationship is over, and yes, you haven't caught her in a lie, but emotional availability isn't just about truthfulness. My fear is that she's not going to have the capacity to invest in your relationship with any sort of emotional integrity.
Not to mention, we've talked about this a lot, but to some extent, this relationship triangle involves transactions, and that makes things even more complicated because even if it's not you being the one paying, and I don't know, you didn't say if you're paying for that apartment, but even if it's not you helping her with the insurance and whatever, her ex-husband is. And so she automatically has that tie and will continue to have that tie. And that makes things so messy when it comes to her completely separating herself from that relationship. There are things that you obviously can't help. They have kids together. And so that is a whole nother thing that they are probably still exploring how to navigate and how to move on into different relationships and things. And I don't want to speak for her and like her readiness of a relationship, but if she's in a place where she's so entangled, like even still financially, so much so the divorce is being put on hold, it does not sound like a situation that is over or a situation that is even close to being finalized, to be honest.
Yeah. And I think pausing the divorce for insurance purposes sounds harmless. It sounds like a practical choice, but research tells a much different story. According to the Journal of Divorce and Remarriage, a significant portion of people delay their divorce for logistical reasons like insurance, but 83% of them later regret how long they waited. Why? Because both partners stayed emotionally stuck.
Yeah.
So if she's putting legal closure on hold for financial benefits, you have to ask yourself, how emotionally available is she really?
Yeah. And it's not to say that her intentions aren't good. Like she very well could mean those things and mean that she wants to explore things with you. But because like you just heard, this is a thing and it's very hard to disconnect the emotional relationship that they built for however many years from the like situation that they're in now, this new transition that they're in now. And for her to like fully separate herself from that old relationship when she still has very strong ties to it.
Yeah. And you had mentioned that you feel like you're on the back burner, and it actually seems like you're more on the hook than you are on the back burner because your name is on the lease. Now there's this bond of responsibility, and a Credit Karma study found that 1 in 5 people who shared financial responsibilities early in dating, like leases or bills or owning a car together, struggle to leave the relationships that they knew weren't working. because the lines between emotional support and obligation got blurred. So you obviously stepped in to help, and you acted from a place of generosity, which we respect. But whether you realize it or not, you're now financially entangled in something that she has not emotionally finished. That's not very sustainable. That is definitely a recipe for burnout.
I know that this isn't what you want to hear, but you did also go 12 years without each other. So a couple more years for her to figure it out and to get to where she wants or needs to be financially so that she can be on her own and not have those types of ties to her ex-husband or to finalize the divorce, whatever it is, it's worth it. It's worth it for everybody's sake, like a year or two more. And also, if you put that type of boundary up that you're not willing to be in a relationship until you know that she is fully ready or she is fully there, she's fully in a position where that makes sense, it will probably become pretty clear how motivated she is to figure out the financial situation or to figure out the divorce situation, to be in a real relationship with you.
Yeah. So I would ask yourself whether you're holding on to her because you believe in your future together, or if you're holding on to her because you feel responsible for her in the present.
Yeah.
It sounds like a man who puts his name on the lease is probably the man who's going to stick around long after he knows it's time to let go.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to create a lot of heartache.
Yeah, 100%. Like I said, in all my experience of helping guys in situations like this, it never works out. Signing the lease does not make her want to be in a relationship with you more. It just doesn't. It only complicates things further. It only makes it so that there's another tie that makes it confusing about whether or not you should pursue it or let it go. Just for anybody in situations like this, if you're ever put in a position where she needs financial help or she needs a place to stay, of course, help her find situations, but don't find them for her. Don't put up the money for her. Don't tie yourself into something before you even have evidence this is going to last, that this is going to be something long term. Part of the reason why guys do this, or why anybody does this, is because they have hope that it then solidifies a relationship, or they have hope that it would get them closer to solidifying a relationship. And it just doesn't work that way.
Yeah. Yeah. Jeff, you are somebody who wants to build something stable and grounded and mutual. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. But do not let your loyalty outrun logic. You've offered a lot of support. You've been patient. You've helped. Now you have to ask yourself, who's showing up for you the way that you've shown up for her? And if the answer is no one, then it's high time that you start showing up for yourself. Mm-hmm. There's things that you can do to get yourself out of this situation. We recommend you put your efforts into that. Let her finalize her current situation.
Yeah.
And then reassess.
Yeah.
All right. You got some polls for us?
Yep. I've got some polls for us. Okay. So the first one that I asked was, can you be emotionally available and keep your guard up? And the two answers were, yep, it's called balance. And the second answer was, not really, it's one or the other. What do you think?
I think it's possible. I think it takes a lot of self-awareness to recognize how your thinking is making you feel and how those feelings are driving your behaviors. And it requires intention. But to answer the question, yeah, I think it's possible.
What do you think the men voted?
Can you be emotionally available and have your guard up? I would say the majority of them would say they could.
Yeah, 76% of you said that you can. And I'm glad to hear that. I also think that it's hard to do. I think it's easy to say that there can be both, that You can be emotionally available and keep your guard up. But a lot of times, the reason why people struggle in dating or in relationships is because they have their guard up and it's not allowing them to be emotionally available.
Yeah. I guess when I think about having your guard up, I interpret that as staying aware, having your head on a swivel, like always having a heightened sense of awareness of what's actually going on.
Which is extremely hard to do in dating. You've ingrained it in my brain.
It kills me when I see kids walking through a mall or down a street or whatever, looking at their phone and not paying any attention to what's going on around them. It's so dangerous. It's dangerous physically, obviously, but it's so dangerous emotionally. If you don't have a strong sense of what's going on, what you're thinking, how your thinking is making you feel, how your feelings are driving your behaviors, you're going to self-sabotage your entire life.
Which I would say 90% of people in the dating scene are that way, unintentionally. They are just acting off of emotions and not deciding ahead of time how it is that they want to feel.
Well, that's what puts you in high demand.
I didn't know that's what was going on when I first started dating and was an emotional mess or anxious mess or always worried. If you are somebody who tends to be more anxious when it comes to dating or you have an anxious attachment style, it's because you're allowing your emotions to run the show. You're not deciding ahead of time how it is that you want to think and feel about the situation in front of you. And so unintentionally, you're showing up in ways that you don't necessarily like. Mm-hmm. When it comes to being emotionally available or having your guard up, a lot of people, and usually because of past experiences, keep their guard up to a certain extent. And they tell themselves that they're emotionally available when their guard's so far up that it's not even possible. They can't even be present with the situation. They're so anxious about what's going to happen next, or if this is going to turn into something, or if the person's going to leave, that they can't be present with the situation. They can't even fathom the idea of deciding how they want to think and feel about it because they're so wrapped up in the nerves. It's an interesting question that probably calls for a very deep conversation, but it's important to put out there and for people to have the awareness where there's so many emotions tied to your dating life. If you are not being intentional about how you approach your dating life and you're just winging it, you're probably going to struggle.
Mm-hmm. And the kind of self-awareness that Gracie's talking about, the self-coaching, the deciding how it is that you want to think and feel, does not come naturally. If that's something that has eluded you and you don't even know where to start, reach out to Gracie. She's got an awesome membership that helps men be more intentional about the way that they're thinking and feeling.
That's all the membership is for. That is the basis of the membership, is because when I started to learn what that meant to be intentional in dating, it is a game changer. Being able to have control over your dating life is something that's very hard to do because you're involving another person, but there's a lot that's within your control. It just doesn't feel that way if you're not dating intentionally. If this sounds like you, if you are like, holy shit, I am the most anxious person when it comes to dating, or I get so overwhelmed, or I have all these fears of being rejected or what's going to happen next, I would highly consider joining the membership because it has proven time and time again to diminish or eliminate that for single men so that they can actually enjoy and actually have success in their dating life again.
Yeah. And you don't want to try these tactics out on the next date because at that point, the stakes are high, right? You are going to be in a high trigger, high emotional mode. You want to have an opportunity to practice these techniques when the stakes are low. And that's another great benefit of being part of the membership. You get the opportunity to practice when the stakes are low.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so the second poll I asked, would you date someone who's perfect on paper, but there's no spark? And the answers were 1, a partner is better than no partner. Or 2, nope, no spark equals no shot. What do you think?
I would date somebody who looks perfect on paper, but there was no spark for about 5 days.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Because if they look perfect on paper, it might be interesting just to kind of live in that world so that you have the contrast, so that you really get to learn that what looks good on paper really isn't that fulfilling. It's not what it's cracked up to be. My hope is that people recognize that sooner than later so that they don't waste time hoping that some future spark is going to ignite. It's probably not going to happen if you're recognizing that quickly.
I think it's a lot easier said than done. If they're checking all your boxes and the only thing missing is a spark or chemistry or a romantic connection, that's hard to walk away from, especially for somebody that wants to find their partner so badly. That can be a really difficult situation to come to terms with. If there's no spark or if there's some piece missing, it is important to listen. I have a lot of clients that come to me saying, she's perfect on paper, but I just don't know what it is. I don't have that like excited feeling about her when I go to set up a date. Like, I'm really not that excited. And that is so important. And that's such a strong indicator that she's probably not your person. And attraction can build, and I'm the biggest advocate for that. But if you've been out on a few dates and you're not noticing any spark, then it's probably time to listen to that and move on.
For the benefit of you both.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. For the benefit of you both. There are so many things that probably aren't on your list yet that you don't even know would check your boxes, that you don't even know you would like in a partner. And you're depriving yourself of that by sticking to this, well, she's perfect on paper. She matches all the things that I want. It's like, there are so many things that you probably don't even know that you want, that your partner is going to show you. And if you don't have that spark, it's time to move on so that you can find out what those things are, so that you actually have the opportunity to meet the person that you align with, that still checks the boxes, but also you have that spark with, you have that chemistry with. It's so important. It's so necessary for a real relationship. You do need that. It's not just like a piece that should be thrown out.
Yeah.
Just
Agreed.
because they match all the things that you want on paper. And the good thing is that 77% of you said that if there's no spark, there's no shot. I was super interested in what the results were going to be, because I think seeing where their heads go with questions like this, I'm always so fascinated by how they're going to answer these questions. So
if you know somebody who is struggling with circumstances that are similar or exactly like the ones that were submitted, please share this with a friend. We would really appreciate it if you would rate the podcast, preferably with 5 stars, so that more people can find us. Leave us a comment. We enjoy reading the comments, and we just have to shout out to Dave, who has left a comment on almost every single episode. He is clearly one of our biggest fans. And
we were just looking through the comments last week. It was so sweet to see all the people that were commenting, but Dave, you were on there every single time. So shout out.
Yeah, we appreciate you. So thanks again for joining us for another episode. And until next week, take care.
Thanks for listening to Just Ask Her. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to rate and review us. And be sure to follow Gracie on TikTok and Instagram at @datingwithgracie. Thanks again for listening.